Guys, welcome back to another YouTube video. Now, in today's video, guys, I'm going to be doing a review on the new Barbie movie, and as you know, this weekend is the Barbenheimer trend, whatever you want to call it, so obviously, I still need to watch Oppenheimer. I'm going to be watching it tonight, so expect a review out tomorrow. It is quite a long movie, so I won't be able to get the review out tonight because it'll be very, very late when I get done with my movie, but I will have an out-of-theater reaction by the end of the night, and I will be wearing a full-on suit for the movie, so yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the review tomorrow. We still got a lot of movies coming next month, so stay tuned for reviews there and any other content in the meantime. Other than that, let's get on to this review. So the Barbie movie. I heard about this movie, I think towards the beginning of the year. And at first I was like, oh, this is a ridiculous concept. There's no way I'm going to be watching this movie. It's, it's probably going to make a lot of money because a lot of little kids are going to go to it. But I'm probably not going to watch it. But as things got closer and I saw the rating for this movie and I heard about the Barbenheimer stuff and things like that, and I was already hooked on watching Oppenheimer well before that. Last year I heard about it. I heard about the plot of the movie, the people who were involved in the movie, the actors and stuff like that, that it was made by Christopher Nolan, and I instantly was like, yes, I'm watching this movie. So when I heard about the Barbenheimer stuff, and I saw that there was a PG-13 rating, it had Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, I was like, okay, well, I might as well hop onto this hype, this trend, and all this hype for it, because my work did a ton of stuff for it. They're still doing it because it's still the Barbenheimer weekend. They have a photo booth set up. My general manager dressed up as Barbie. We've done a ton of fun stuff for the release of Barbie. Of course, I wore a full-on suit to work yesterday when I worked. So yeah, just a ton of stuff. So I figured, why not, go check out Barbie, hop in on all of this excitement and stuff like that. And overall, I would say before I get on to the actual review and things like that, I obviously do have some criticisms for this movie. But overall, I would say I enjoyed this movie, but don't take that for granted. If you're somebody who's like me, who's a boy, who's teenage age or older, you're probably not going to enjoy this movie. There's a very specific reason why I was able to bear some of the criticisms that I had for this movie, and I enjoyed the humor quite a bit, which was kind of the main reason why I really enjoyed this movie. So yeah, don't think that, oh, well, if I really enjoyed it, I will too, because I really can't speak for anybody else. You're probably not going to be able to bear some of the criticisms that I had for this movie. But overall, first, let's just get into the positives. First of all, I'm sure, you probably already knew this. Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling as Barbie and Ken, I think, were really, really great choices. Specifically, Margot Robbie for Barbie, because I think she's able to pull off eccentric characters like Barbie. She's got that really, really big smile that she can pull off, and she can just pull off a very eccentric character like Barbie, and we already seen that in Harley Quinn, and I think she was the perfect choice for the stereotypical Barbie, as they called it in this movie. Now, Ryan Gosling, I won't say that he was the perfect choice for Ken, but I think he did a really, really good job, and definitely provided for many of the funny moments in this movie, so I really liked Ryan Gosling as Ken as well. Also, I think that the director, Greta Gerwig or whatever, did a really good job at making the Barbie world feel like the Barbie world. Everybody was, waving at each other, saying the same things to each other. Everything was the exact same every day. Just all the different characters act pretty much like the same, kind of like NPCs. It kind of reminded me of Free Guy, but I think that in here it's even emphasized even more than in Free Guy. So I really, really liked that she made the Barbie world feel real. And I think she did a unique thing using the Barbie brand with comparing it to real life issues, because we obviously do get a bit of the real world in this movie, and when Barbie and Ken do visit the real world, I really, really like how she's able to compare the Barbie world to the real world. It was something that I never really thought about, just mainly because I was never that into Barbie or anything like that, so I didn't really think about it. But I thought it was a unique way to tackle the social issue that she talks about in this movie. So I like the way that she like the angle that she approached it from, with comparing the Barbie world to the real world. And some of the two main real world characters in this movie, I think, did a pretty good job. But I will have more criticisms about that later, just so you know. But I liked the angle that she tackled it from, and I think she had a good idea. She had a good idea going forward, but she didn't execute it correctly, and I'll talk about that later. But yeah, I liked a few of the real world characters, specifically Will Ferrell, who was the CEO of Mattel. I had a lot of fun with him, even though his subplot with Mattel chasing after Barbie and Ken and trying to get him back into the Barbie world was didn't really have any sort of purpose in this movie. It wasn't really the main focus. But I still had a lot of fun with Will Ferrell being the CEO of Mattel and all of his henchmen working for him, the CFO, all these other different higher-ups. I had a lot of fun with that. So yeah, I had some fun with some of the side characters. I think the two lead real-world characters, I think, did a pretty good job. I liked Alan. He was like one of these characters in the Barbie world who's like the only character who's not a Barbie or a Ken, I think. I really liked him. There's also a variation of Ken in this movie who was played by the guy who was Shang-Chi in the Shang-Chi movie. I thought he did a pretty good job. So yeah, I think some of the side characters I really enjoyed as well. And like I said, the main thing that made this movie enjoyable for me was the humor. I really like shocking and sometimes dark humor where it's just like completely out of the blue and everybody just starts bursting out of laughter. And there were a lot of moments like this in this movie where a character makes a statement and you're just like, wow, it just came out of nowhere and everybody just starts bursting out laughing in the theater. I really, really like that type of humor. So that's what made it very enjoyable for me, on top of having, obviously, a full theater, made it even more fun. So I definitely recommend, if you're a Barbie fan, I would definitely recommend going and seeing this movie in the theater with everybody else. You'll have a very, very great time. So yeah, that's what made it very enjoyable for me. Now, admittedly, there was some humor in here where it was the complete opposite, where and it came out of the blue, but nobody laughed. Like, it was just completely dead silent after that. So there were moments like that as well in this movie. It wasn't all, like, not all the humor landed in this movie, which is to be expected with any movie that's trying to, or any comedy movie is going to have some jokes that are not going to land fully. So, but yeah, the humor that I mostly liked, though, in this movie was when when they're going into the real world and Ken discovers the patriarchy and that men have like the leadership role, and that's kind of where like the comparison between the Barbie world and the real world comes in, where the Barbie world, the women rule the world, and in the real world, for the most part, men take the leadership role. So I really like when Ken like discovers the patriarchy and learns all this different stuff, and he comes back to the Barbie world really happy. He's excited to tell all the other Kens about it, and then the Kens kind of take over the Barbie world for a little bit. They call it the Kendom. I thought all that stuff was really, really funny. That's where most of my laughs came from. So I really enjoyed that. And I think those are pretty much all the positives that I have to talk about. So moving into the mixed category. So for me, like I said, I enjoyed this movie mainly because of the humor. So for my sake, it worked out well for me, but it's confusing because, like I said, when I first heard about this movie, I thought for sure is going to be advertised towards little kids, and that this movie would make a lot of money because a lot of little kids would probably little girls would probably like want to go to see it and stuff like that. But this movie is not really targeted towards little kids. Not because it's just like all adult humor and things like that. There is definitely some adult humor in there, and that's what I really liked about this movie. That's why I enjoyed it. But because the message that this movie is trying to convey is not put out there in a way where little kids are going to be able to understand it. That's why it's not really meant for little kids. Not because necessarily the adult humor. I think if you brought your kids to this movie, there's not going to be stuff in here that you would be worried about them hearing or anything like that. They're just not going to be able to understand the message of this movie, and they're not going to understand the humor either. So they're going to be like, what? I thought I was going to have a really great time with Barbie, but they're going to be confused because everything's kind of put out there in grown-up talk. Like, they're not going to be able to understand it. So that's what kind of confused me, and that's why I'm kind of conflicted with this movie, because I enjoyed it because it wasn't advertised towards little kids, because if it was, I probably would have never gone to see this movie in the first place. And honestly, I don't think that the Barbenheimer trend would have been a thing either. So I probably wouldn't have gone to see it in the first place. But I think for the quality of the movie, and that kind of stuff, I think that it would have overall made the movie better had it been advertised towards little kids. So for me, it made me enjoy it more, but I know that for other people, that's not the case. So yeah, that's why I'm kind of conflicted with this movie. So that's kind of my main mix thing. I'm not really sure what direction she should have gone with just making it for adults or making it for kids. I'm not really sure what direction she should have gone into, because I think had she gone in the little kids direction, this movie would have kind of been boring and felt like just kind of a like the whole movie was just like a product placement to advertise Barbie and things like that. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted as you can see, but what I'm not conflicted on is the negatives. So let's move on to the negatives. So, like I said, the way that the message is conveyed is kind of all in grown up talk and things like that. And so, when it comes to the humor, I really enjoyed it because of that. When it comes to the messaging, sometimes it was a little bit annoying. And I'm totally fine with movies that want to tackle social issues. I think even if I disagree with them and things like that, I'm totally okay with that. I'm not going to go out there and just say, oh, this movie's woke and things like that, because I've already seen, like the Daily Wire, calling this movie woke and things like that and hating on it and things like that. And you guys know, I watch the Daily Wire, but, I do disagree with them sometimes, and I kind of disagree with them on this movie. I just think that the way that she conveyed the message was not correctly. I think if you want to tackle a social issue and put some commentary in your movie, that's totally fine. But the way that she put it out there was not right. It was almost like she was trying to put out all of her frustrations at once and make all these different statements about feminist issues like gender roles and pay gaps and all this kind of stuff. And she never built upon them. She just made this statement here and there and never built upon those. There was no main focus for the theme. It was just all these different feminist issues and things like that. I think towards the ending of the movie, she got a little bit more focused, and I kind of liked it. Like, it made for some pretty nice closure. But overall, for most of the movie, it was just a bunch of different statements being made and nothing being built upon. And on top of that, like, the way the statements were being made and stuff like that is not going to make me, if you're tackling a social issue in your movie, you want to make the people that disagree with you question their stance on that issue. You want to start a conversation in their head. But when you're just putting out statements and just throwing them out there and putting out things that we've already heard, it's just going to make me roll my eyes or just laugh at you for what you just said. So, obviously, I completely, mostly disagree with the stuff that she had to say in this movie. And it just kind of made me roll my eyes and just kind of laugh at, the statements that were being made and things like that. So, overall, the only people that it's going to satisfy are the people who already agree with you and, already agree with your stance and things like that. They're just going to be high-fiving their friends, patting each other on the back and being like, yes, you go girl, and things like that. And so, yeah, what wasn't a fan of that. Now, for most people, that's probably going to make it kind of pretty unbearable for you. Just going to be rolling your eyes the whole movie. But what saved this movie was she kind of balanced it a little bit with giving the men power for a little bit with the kingdom and um, that whole part of the movie, and then had mostly where the girls were in power and things like that. So she balanced it a little bit, and the humor kind of saved it for me. But I know for most people, you're probably just going to be shaking your head the whole movie and just not really going to be enjoying it. So this movie has a weird placement because it's not advertised towards little kids, but it's not necessarily advertised towards adults either. It's targeted towards a very, very specific audience that agrees with her stance. It kind of like, mid-20s, and like 20s to early 30s, like that very, very specific age. It's like really, really weird target audience that she happened to go after. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but she was happening to target that specific audience, because I know in the theater, looking around me, those were the people who were laughing for most of the movie and cheering through most of the movie because they agreed with her on that type of stuff. So yeah, the way that the message was being conveyed, wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, you had like this whole sequence where one of the real world characters was just going on this like 2-minute rant, spitting out all these different things and just getting out all of her frustrations about what it is like to be a woman. And for some people, they're going to absolutely love that. But for other people, I was just like, when is this going to end? Please tell me when this is going to end. So yeah, I think had she conveyed her message in a different way, I wouldn't be as annoyed by it. And I'm still conflicted with whether or not she should have just kept it, advertised it towards little kids, and I would have never gone to see it. But, I'd probably respect the movie a little bit more. I probably would have heard things about it, but I probably would have respected it a little bit more. But since I watched it, and since it was the way that it was, that's why I have these sort of criticisms. So overall, I can't speak for other people. I enjoyed this movie enough. I had a kick out of it. I thought it was pretty fun a pretty fun experience for the most part. But I would say if you're like me and an older guy, I would say probably skip this movie. And even if you have kids, probably skip this movie as well. This is targeting a very, very specific audience that probably doesn't even watch my channel. So I would just say probably go skip it. For me, my rating, I gave this movie a 3.5 out of 5 stars on Rotten Tomatoes. So I think I will give it a solid, I was going to say solid 7 out of 10, but I think I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's above average. For the most part, I had fun with it, but there were some issues that I had with the movie. So that's what I thought. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section if you did go see the Barbie movie. Stay tuned for the Oppenheimer review tomorrow, and there'll be an out-of-theater reaction today. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And I think that's all the announcements that I need to make. Like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you next time.